welcome to the 100 Acre Wool Knitting Podcast. My name is Bella and I am a knitwear designer and knitter and lover of all things fiber arts. I sew and also do hand spinning and all things like that. And this is a podcast where I come to talk with you about what I have been making recently, maybe some new designs that I have in the works, and just things that I would like to share with you regarding fiber arts and what I've been working on. So if that sounds interesting to you, then keep on watching. Maybe grab a cup of tea or a warm drink, and maybe grab your knitting or a project you're working on, and we'll get into things. I'm drinking some green tea today. It's still actually quite cold here at the beginning of March. We are definitely heading into spring. I am noticing the trees are bursting with new leaves, and I always love this time of year. I think it's so fresh and wonderful. But yeah, today we have some spinning related things to talk about. I've been getting back into hand spinning and having a lot of fun with that, and also a couple of finished objects and whips as well. So we'll get started on all that. Everything is related to knitting or hand spinning today. So let's get started with the first finished object. I am preparing for spring and really excited about this new finished object. So this was a project that I had been working on for quite a few months, and it had gone through pausing and restarting and so on and so forth because I was running out of yarn at one point and I had to order some more, and just trying to deal with all of that. This is one of my own designs. It's called the Amoretta Blouse, and I designed it to be kind of an all-around basic, kind of a base pattern that you could add your own touches and make the edgings different and add like sleeve length to make it more cold weather appropriate, or keep it as a short sleeve for spring and summer. So this is going to be my sort of spring and summer sort of version of this blouse. I think this is now my fourth version of this. The first one I made was a dark green one for the winter time for colder weather. The next one that I made was a pink one that was more cropped and more short sleeve style like this, with actually no neckline edging, and that came out really beautifully. And then I made a blue one with a really cute little crochet scallop edge on all of the edgings. And then this one. So I think this is my fourth one now. So it's a lot of fun to just do it differently every time and just make it your own and make it appropriate to whatever season you want to wear it in. And also a great thing about this one that I was very excited about to have in my wardrobe is this is the first hand knit garment that I've ever made out of not wool, I think, or not like protein fibers, not coming from some kind of an animal, whether that's silk or mohair or wool or anything like that. This one is all plant fibers. It is linen and cotton is the blend of this yarn, and I'm so happy to have this in my wardrobe. I live in California, and it gets very hot here in the summers, and even the springtime, like I would say next month we're going to start having some pretty warm days. So this is going to come really in handy for me. I definitely think that I need to add more of these kinds of fibers into my wardrobe as far as hand knitting goes. I love wool and I absolutely love knitting with wool, but as for usability in my specific area, I would say this is very useful for me. So linen and cotton. It's very breathable. I can already tell already. It's going to be great for the warmer weather. It's actually kind of cold to touch right now at this point. It actually feels a little bit cold. So I think that's a good sign. So yeah, I am forgetting exactly the name of this yarn, but it is a Kelborn Yarns, and it is their linen cotton blend. It's a sport weight yarn. So I'll probably also put it in the description below exactly what this is called. But in this particular sample, I just did the simple rib edge details that are given in the pattern. There at the end, and then on each of the sleeves. and this pattern is worked topped down, so I was able to kind of just pick however long I wanted it to be. I think it hits me right about at my hip length, so that was a good length for me. And I love the little neckline with the little bit of a deeper V there. That's how far it'll come up on me. So yeah, I'm just so excited about this one, and I definitely want to make more things with this kind of fiber in my wardrobe. And after it blocked, it came out very drapey and nicely flowy. I'm very happy with this fabric, so would definitely recommend the yarn. Though I will say I did have a couple of, not issues, but a couple of little annoying things about the yarn that I'll just let you know about. One thing I noticed was it could be kind of splitty sometimes. I think since the yarn doesn't really hold on to itself, it doesn't have those little grabbies like wool does, those little microscopic little hooks like wool does. Since it is a plant fiber, I think it didn't really want to hold on to itself very well. So I was noticing while I was knitting it that the plies would sometimes untwist themselves, and I could get a little bit of splitting. So I just had to be a little more conscious about that and pay attention to that a little bit more to make sure I wasn't splitting my stitches. And then another thing that I noticed was when I was doing the sewn bind off on the edges. I did for all the edges, for the neckline edge, for each of the sleeve edges, and then also for the hem edge. I did a 1x1 rib sewn bind off. I really love how that looks. I've talked about it a ton here on the podcast, but it just gives a really, I think, nicely finished edge where the ribbing kind of just disappears into nothing instead of having that blunt cast off line like you would normally have if you just cast off with your needles. I really recommend, if you're doing a ribbing edge, then do the sewn bind off. And it did work with this yarn. However, it was again kind of untwirling itself or unplying itself, and just was a little bit finicky to work with at some points, and was also twisting up in weird ways and getting tangled, because you do have to have that long strand of yarn to do your sewn bind off, especially for a hem. It's a lot larger of a circumference than, say, a sleeve, so it was a little bit annoying at some points. So just things to keep in mind, but it did work. It definitely works as a yarn to do a sewn bind off. It wasn't breaking or anything, it was just getting a little tangled and twisted. So just things to keep in mind if you're going to use this yarn for that purpose. But yeah, still would recommend it overall, and I'm so excited for this blouse. It's still too cold to wear it here, at least for me. I am still very much bundled up, you can tell. It's a cold day, and it's been cold most of the time, at least for me. I generally run a little bit colder, so yeah. But today I'm wearing, if you're curious what I'm wearing, I am wearing two of my designs. This is the Fields of Gold sweater, pullover. What did I call it? I think I just called it Fields of Gold. A very kind of fun knit to do with lots of fun little textures and motifs. And then I'm also wearing my Caroline shawl, which is named after the woman who makes this yarn. And yeah, two very well used and well loved pieces in my wardrobe. They're very cozy and comfy and warm. So that's what I'm wearing. Okay, let's get into the next finished object. I finished another new design. I have shown this actually on the podcast before, but the sample that I've shown you I actually gave away to my grandma as a Christmas present. So this is now the official sample, and also my sample that I will be keeping. So I finished the second sample and my sample of the Calm Down socks. These socks were inspired by a rough time late last year. I was just having a lot of stress issues with the world and family things, and I was feeling like I really needed something to bring my mind out of my mind and into my hands, and doing something that could keep my hands and my mind active in a way that was more calming and simple but engaging, that wasn't going to be too difficult but was still going to keep me doing something and maybe keeping my mind off of the things that were stressing me out. So that's where these came from. That's where these were. It was out of a need was how this started. And I also wanted them to be very cozy and comfortable. I designed these to be kind of house socks. The cuff here is extra long and cozy because it is designed to be kind of smushed up on your leg when you're wearing them, and kind of a leg warmer style, so that they're very cozy and comfy and warm to wear. And yeah, I also used, for this sample, and what I will be recommending in the pattern is knitted in yarn. And this is an unspun yarn. I've talked about it a million times here on the podcast. If you're not new, I'm sorry. But yes, I definitely recommend this yarn for this pattern. It's just the perfect kind of feeling. The feeling that knitted in or unspun yarns in general, that kind of feeling is just so cozy in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But I think it's like the coziest yarn out there, since it is unspun and it retains so much of the airiness and smoosh factor. I think it's really a good selection for this kind of a design. So yes, it does use knitted in single-stranded, which I know if you're a knitter that hasn't worked with unspun yarn regularly, then sometimes that can present some challenges. I have gotten so used to working with it at this point that I kind of just know what to do second nature, but I am working on a kind of tutorial / tip style video on how to work with this kind of a yarn if you would want to get your feet wet and start using any kind of an unspun yarn, and just kind of things that I would recommend doing that could help you out in your journey and hopefully make it less of a learning curve to get started with unspun yarn. So anyway, yeah, you can use absolutely any yarn you want, of course. It's just a fingering weight yarn is what it's used for this pattern, but I especially love the coziness and the comfort and the squish factor of an unspun yarn. This, if you're curious, this particular colorway is knitted in yarn, and it's the Languster colorway. I think that's what it's called. It's kind of the blend is very much purple and pinks and yellows all mixed together. So I just thought that would be really sweet for spring, and I'm so excited to be wearing these soon. I still need to take a couple of more pictures of these before I really get them worn looking. So I will be doing that, but then I will be able to wear them and have them in my wardrobe. Speaking of socks, I really need to I have a pile over there staring at me in the corner of a pile of socks that I need to be mending. That is the one thing I will say about using an unspun yarn for socks specifically. I notice they do actually get holes in them. Not super quickly, but they will if you wear them regularly like I do. And they are my favorite. Again, I say it's my favorite yarn to use for socks. They're just so cozy and warm. But they will get a hole in them. So if you have any recommendations, I have actually not mended socks yet. So if you have any recommendations of tools, or I don't know if they make kits for this kind of a thing, or tutorials, anything like that for mending socks, I would love to know. I haven't done it yet, and I don't know exactly the best way to make it as strong and sturdy as possible. I know I can probably just duplicate stitch over a large area around the hole, but not sure. So let me know in a comment below if you have done mending yourself before and any tips you may have to share with all of us. That would be wonderful. Thank you. And okay, I guess we'll get into a whip. So this is another design that I have been working on. This is my, again, second sample of this. I keep doing this. I keep making 2 samples of the same design. But this one is slightly different than my first one. So my first version of this, I designed and made a sample for my mom. And this one is a little bit different than I made for her. She had some specific things that she wanted the blouse to have, certain design elements. And for the official pattern and for my sample, I wanted to adjust it a little bit. So this is called the Amaryllis Blouse, and it is all over brioche, worked top down, and it has these fun little, I don't know, flowers, amaryllis flowers at the top, and then you work down, and I have just bound off one of the sleeves. I'm so happy with how this came out. It turned out to be the exact shape and size and positive ease that I was going for this kind of a sleeve. It's a 3/4 length for the balloony part, and then the last quarter, about from here to your wrist, is more cinched in, but it's not tight, so it's very comfortable to wear. So I really enjoy how this fabric worked up. And yeah, I am finishing up the body. It's pretty easy breezy TV knitting at this point, and then I still need to pick up the stitches for the next sleeve. But this is so soft and comfortable. Oh my gosh, it's like holding a cloud, it's like wearing a cloud. This is it's made out of a single strand of a silk mohair with a little bit of wool in it. It's a little bit of a different blend. So this is a yarn from Durerum Natura, and it is their Berenice base. So I'm forgetting the exact makeup as far as percentages wise, but I know it is silk, mohair, and wool. So normal silk mohairs don't have that little bit of wool in it, but I think it adds a nice, makes the yarn a little more muchy. You do get a lower yardage because you have that extra weight of the wool included as well. So for the grams, you get a lesser yardage than would normally be for, you know, a general silk mohair. But I felt that that was a better base to use as the one and only strand for this garment. So yeah, it is a lace weight garment, except, I don't know, I don't think silk mohair is exactly lace weight because you have all that fluff too. And you can see the strand is not nothing. So that fluff really adds some bulk and muchiness to the fabric, and also the fact that it's brioche. Brioche is a very airy and open and just, yeah, open kind of a stitch. It's not flat. Maybe that's what I'm meaning to say. Since the brioche is very fluffy, and I think it enhances the fluff, the fact that it's brioche versus maybe a stockinette or a ribbing or some other stitch like that. So I'm really happy with how the fabric is going, and really excited to see this one finished and excited to be wearing it. I am so looking forward to all of the combinations of outfits that I can do with this. Yeah. And there's going to be another little element to this design that I will keep a secret and a surprise for right now. Another little optional thing that I will be including in the pattern. But yeah, really, really having fun with this one. It's going to be so soft and lovely. And I have said before, I think here on the podcast, sometimes silk mohairs can be scratchy in a way somehow, like especially around my neck. This one does not give any of that, at least for me. It's just absolutely a cloud. It feels like silk, like just silk on my neck. So really definitely recommend this yarn. Yeah, would definitely recommend this yarn. Even just holding it with another strand of something else for another project. Yeah, love this one. I will definitely be repurchasing this yarn in different colorways and things for projects in the future, because this is probably my new favorite silk mohair kind of a thing. I know it's not exactly silk mohair because it does have that wool in there too, but it's just so lovely. And it's a good price. When I first made this for my mom, I used Biche Bouche, and I believe this is not Biche Bouche. I used La Bien-Aimée for that one, and I believe that this is a little bit of a more affordable yarn, a little bit. But anyway, okay, let's get into hand spinning. So I have finished a hand spun yarn that was in the works for I don't even know how long, years. I have had the plies on some bobbins and just hadn't plied them up for so long. They were just sitting there, and I have really been feeling recently like my fiber stash and my spinning stash has been staring at me. You need to use me, please. So finally I was like, okay, I need to finish this yarn. And I'm so happy I did. I love how it came out. So this is some fiber, or was some fiber, that I purchased from Acre when they first started putting out their fiber. So yeah, it must have been at least 2 years ago that I started this. And it's very nubby and not even and kind of multicolored and multifaceted, and I just love it. I just love that it's not smooth and it's got more life to it. So I am really happy with how this came out. This is only my first skein. I still have more of the plies to put together, but I am always having so many things I'm working on that it's hard to finish something. But anyway, I will be getting to this soon. So this is my Lazy Susan that I use to actually ply my singles. I have only ever done 2 plies in my experience of hand spinning so far in the past couple of years. I have only ever done 2 plies, but I guess I could do a 3 ply because I have 3 little sections that I could put a bobbin. But yeah, this is what I use, and I basically just put this on the floor and I take the strand of one bobbin. Of course, am I going to find it? There we go. Grab the strand from one bobbin, grab the strand from the other bobbin, and then I put these onto my leader on the spinning wheel and spin them the opposite direction that I spun to make the plies. And that's how I do my plying. So I don't use any kind of a tensioning except for just my fingers. Generally I use one hand to hold the yarns that are the plies that are coming off of the bobbins. I'll use one hand to kind of hold those, and then the other hand, usually my right hand, I will use that to feed into the spinning wheel. And I almost use the act of spinning to pull in the yarn instead of me doing the ply, and then feeding it in. I actually just kind of leave my finger there and just use the spinning action to actually just pull in the yarn. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or a good way to do it, or if I'm doing something weird, but the yarn comes out good for me. So that's what I've been doing, and it's a lot easier and faster, I think, than waiting and then pushing and then waiting and then pushing. There's a lot less movement. I'm literally just holding the plies, and then with the tension I'm giving between my fingers, that also determines how quick or slow it's feeding in. Anyway, I don't know if I'm getting too nerdy about this. But I'm really happy with how this one came out. I think I'm going to be knitting a hat because I've noticed I need more hats in my wardrobe. I have a couple, but I wear them all the time, and I don't want to be wearing the same one all of the time because then it will wear out faster. But I'm really looking forward to knitting with this, but I gotta finish those first. And I actually haven't even spun up all the fiber yet. I'm noticing I still have this ball of fluff. So this is what it used to look like. This is almost how it came to me. I did draft it a little bit to turn it into this little ball of slightly pre-drafted roving, very airy and fluffy at this point. And then that's what it turns into. There we go. If you're a hand spinner, I would definitely recommend purchasing some fiber from Acre. I also have a little acquisition I'll share with you at the end. I got some new fiber from them because I just couldn't help myself. But yeah, their fiber is very lovely. It's quite an affordable price if I'm remembering correctly, because you get 200 grams in a package. Yeah, I think it's quite a good price for what you're getting, and it's very airy and fluffy. You can create a really nice woolen spun yarn with that fiber, and they always have lovely colors too. So yeah, and oh, I guess we'll get into, oh, okay, another kind of reverse whip. I actually pulled back things on this project. So this is the sweater I am knitting for my partner, and I had actually gotten to separate the sleeves, and I thought I was going to be on stockinette sleeve island and stockinette body island. I don't know if that's a saying, but I thought I was, you know, off to the races with the easy breezy part of the pattern, but no, it's okay. We tried it on, or Austin, my partner, tried it on, and he was not happy with the fit. I agreed. It wasn't working out well. My idea for how to do the construction was not turning out super well, and he wanted an entirely different construction. So how it was before was that I was doing basically a yoke style construction, and then I was going to split the sleeves and the body and do those separately in the round. But he wanted more of a set-in sleeve and more of a classic tailored kind of a sweater. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. And so I had to rip back everything that I had done up to this point, and I still need to rip back a little bit more because I need to rip back enough of this fabric so that the edge of this is actually at his shoulder, and I think it's still a little bit too wide for him at this point. So once we get it ripped back to the shoulder, I will be knitting the front and the back separately so that I can rejoin the fabric at the underarm, so it'll be flat, 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 and then I'll, I guess, add some increases for the underarm and then do the same for the back, and then rejoin in the round from the underarm down. That's the plan so far, I think. I don't know if I'm going to do seaming or rejoin in the round. I probably will just rejoin in the round. And then I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with the sleeves, but those will have to become some kind of a set-in sleeve or maybe short row thing with the shoulders. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I'm kind of making it up as I go along, and I'm not sure I'm going to be turning this particular way that I'm going to be doing this sample. I'm not sure that I'm going to be turning that into a pattern at this point. All the plans have kind of derailed a little bit, so we'll see how it goes. But I just want his to be how he wants it. I would rather rip it out when it's still not finished rather than me finishing the entire thing and then he hates it and he never wears it. So, but yes, I am a little disappointed that I had to rip back so much of my efforts, but it happens sometimes. And yeah, this is a really nice yarn. It has cashmere and wool, and it's a lovely colorway. This was some hand-dyed yarn that we got in a knitting event that we went to last year, and I just want it to be really nice for him. So we're gonna do it properly this time, and that'll just take lots of math and planning, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so now on to an acquisition that I purchased recently. So as I was saying before, would definitely recommend, if you're a spinner, checking out Acre's fibers. All their fibers are carded and just lovely. The blends of the fibers are always different as far as like where exactly the wool is coming from, what breed of sheep produce the wool, and then also the actual colors of the fibers. They're always different every single time they have a shop update, so would definitely recommend checking them out. I am not sponsored by them at all. I just genuinely really love the things that they produce, so I feel like I should let you all know. So this one I just absolutely immediately fell in love with when they shared it. I just couldn't not have this in my life, and I immediately had an idea for a sweater. I really want a very basic sweater where the yarn can just shine completely, so I purchased enough that I can make my own completely hand spun sweater. So I got 600 grams. I'm thinking that'll be enough, hopefully. We'll see how my grist turns out and everything. I'll be doing some sample spinning. But I really have been wanting to break into this the past couple weeks, but I haven't been letting myself because I need to finish that other spin first. So that's what I'm telling myself. Once I finish the other spin, then I can start spinning this one. But especially this colorway, it's Melena. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This is what it's called. Hopefully you can see that. And it's just a rainbow of color. I hope it will come up on the camera properly. It's just, I have never seen a fiber quite like this. And Caroline's little sample of some spinning that she did is a little sample of this fiber. It's just so full of life. So I had to pick some up, and this one was so popular she's actually already made another kind of version of this. They never make the same exact thing twice, but another really beautiful version of this. So I wonder if she'll do some more, because this is probably my favorite fiber that they have ever produced. It's just so lively and wonderful, and it's just a rainbow, but I think once it's spun up, it will still look kind of like a neutral, because it's got a kind of gray, more natural toned base. I don't know, but the colors are so electric. It's just so unique. So would definitely recommend, if you're a spinner, or even if you're not a spinner, maybe try spinning. It's a whole rabbit hole, but I think hand spinning is so much fun and so worth it if you are into knitting or crochet or a fiber artist of any kind. And you can get started with spinning really easily. You just need some fiber and a drop spindle even. That's always really fun. But anyway, I think that's everything I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and happy making. Bye bye.